So we are live now. Hello everyone, welcome to the live stream. So today, the two recent topics have emerged. We'll be covering them. First one being the Trump tariffs that have been introduced, and the second one being price of education in India and what needs to be done. So first of all, let's start with the tariffs. And yesterday, President Trump announced that the negotiations were going on regarding tariffs, and President Trump decided that he decided to put 25% tariffs on India, and this was the statement that he put out. Is this visible?
Yeah,
Yeah. So basically, he said that all things not good, India will therefore be paying a tariff of 25% plus a penalty for the above, which is basically like buying Russian oil. And as a result, from starting from August 1st, uh, India will be facing exports from India will be facing a 25% tariffs, uh, and several of the refineries in India are facing sanctions because of the because of the sanctions that have been introduced on them. So this is the thing. This is the current situation, and this story created a whole lot of different reactions, and protectionists of all kinds came out and said, oh, this is an insult to the country, oh, we need to protect our industries, us is bullying us. So we'll dissect that, how this is not actually bullying and good for the country, and why actually those who are promoting tariffs are playing into the hands of cronies and politicians. So let's start.
yeah. Firstly, the whole thing is, let's start with what Trump said. He's going to impose a 25% tariffs on products coming to America from India. And those tariffs are not going to be paid by India. It's not India paying them. He is essentially taxing American citizens. So whenever they want to use an Indian product, if it was costing them, $100 currently, it is going to cost them $125. And that money, the $25 is basically going to the United States government. So tariffs are nothing but a tax. And, it is always the consumer who is going to be paying for these tariffs. And let's talk about the response, the immediate response, knee-jerk response is that the America is bullying them. And the relevant point being, if America is bullying India by adding a 25% tax, and for decades we were one of the highest, in the country with the highest amount of tariffs, and on American goods and on automobiles we even have like 150% duty, lightly reduced it. So we've been doing 6x more bullying of America. If we consider that, tariffs, imposing tariffs on another country are bullying. And of course, I think we say that, America imposed tariffs on another country, but America imposed a tax on its own citizens. That is basically the bottom line of what any narrative about tariffs comes down to. You are taxing your own citizens. You're making them pay more money for a product that they would have gotten for cheaper. And the government loves tax revenues. They may claim anything, but in the end, they love shoring up their tax revenues.
Yeah, and he's also thinking of it as paying off the debt. They like by tariffs he'll be able to pay off national debt.
I mean, if you tax people a lot and you take a lot of their money, you can pay some portion of the debt. But America has a spending problem right now. I mean, Trump wants $1 trillion budget for the military. He's just been, they've been with the big beautiful bill, whatever. They have a massive spending going on. So yeah, I mean, all this is just distraction from the core topic. Tariffs are bad. They're already having a really bad impact on the American economy. Just the uncertainty about the tariffs in America itself is creating a lot of problem. On India, it's the other way around. I mean, there is no uncertainty that we have about tariffs. We know that the government's not going to remove any tariffs. There's not any drastic reductions. It benefits a lot of cronies, but the Indian citizen and the Indian consumer is left poorer. We have to live with substandard products because the companies, the industries in India, which have taken us for granted, have no pressure to be competitive and provide us better products or better quality of products, and they're not competing on the international level. So yeah, we are just suffering from that, and the whole narrative is as if this is some huge nationalistic thing. Countries' pride, protect the industries, whatever. We've been doing it for 7 decades. Like, I mean, if you're a country that is proud, then we should be ashamed of actually having tariffs and these sort of protectionism, because I think that Indian companies are as good or even better than many other countries around the world, and we can definitely compete, but the sort of incentives the government is creating is ruining our industry.
Yeah, and some sane voices are seeing it as an opportunity for deregulation and increasing industrialization. But it has been seen that protectionism has never worked. Like the most recent example being that they put high duties on solar panel imports in India, but still the industry could protectionism didn't work, and India's solar panel capacity hasn't increased that much. Like domestic production capacity, installation has increased, but production hasn't increased. So this shows
Yeah.
that protectionism doesn't work. Few exceptions here and there doesn't mean that it is a generally prevalent principle.
Yeah, I mean, in certain scenarios, it does seem to have like an impact. But if you look at it in the longer picture, it's never really helpful. And industries in India which have actually had to compete without any sort of protectionism are usually the ones that do better. And even post liberalization, the when the Indian economy opened up, that is when a lot of Indian companies actually started, growing and doing a lot of things. At one point of time, you couldn't so much as sell coffee. There was an actual coffee board that used to buy all the coffee and then start selling it. And then once we opened up the economy, then a lot of coffee players started coming up. Across different segments, we have a premium segment, and in the mass instant coffee segment, for example, we have this company called Continental Coffee. They're probably the world's largest producer of instant coffee right now. And this is a company that came I think, started in 95, 96, once the government let go of that sector. And then we saw how, they did it. We didn't need the government to promote it. The whole point of having a coffee board was to promote coffee. And they didn't really do a great job at it. They opened up the economy, and now the world's largest producer of instant coffee is an Indian company. So yeah, private companies do well. Markets, once you open up, you liberalize things, things do well. Uh, Even if you look at the automobile market, you know how the situation was before liberalization. We only had like a few, everything was like government owned, and then the markets opened up, and yeah, now these companies are forced to compete at an international level. I mean, we still have a high level of protectionism, but still there's a drastic amount of change that we are seeing right now. So, Tushar, you just dropped off.
Yeah, and also industries that have not been protected have also been able to perform really well. It is not biggest one being the IT sector.
Oh yes, definitely. IT sector is interesting. I mean, before the government could understand what the IT sector is, before the babus could figure out how to, regulate them to death, these companies grew so big. They were bringing a lot of foreign exchange, so they grew really fast. And we did benefit from a sort of labor cost arbitrage, because obviously we have a lower cost of labor. But the same thing also applies in manufacturing. The reason we didn't take off there is because of extensive amount of protectionism, and of course, other more systemic issues with respect to regulation. And I think someone pointed out how Bajaj, which was like a leading opponent of liberalizing or opening up the sector, or exposing us to foreign competition, now today exports a lot of vehicles around the world, and they were forced to compete, and they did a pretty good job. So we do see this trend that whenever the government stops protecting an industry, they are usually forced to adapt. I mean, they take the Indian consumer for granted. Like, you don't have foreign competition, and then these guys, pretty much, it's like a government granted monopoly. So every government granted monopoly, they'll provide you a really substandard product. They can charge you what they want. Uh, any market that's insulated from competition will always end up providing a lower quality.
Yeah, and like we have been under the protectionist regime for like over 70 years. How much protection more do you need? At
It's
what
never
point?
enough for these guys. It is
Yeah,
actually never enough.
yeah,
They always keep talking about Indian companies can't compete, Indian companies can't commit. I find it like really insulting. And I think, and if there are a few industries which cannot compete, like maybe a few of them, let that be. I mean, there is also, you you have to make sure that you do what you're good at. Like you don't want every country doing almost everything, right? So the comparative advantage, what's the point of having free trade networks and distributed supply chains if you're trying to do everything yourself, right? Like if you want to do every single element in the supply chain has to be made in India, it just doesn't work. That's an unworkable system, and no country actually does that. Even in the United States, which is the world's biggest economy, they get parts from everywhere, they get components from everywhere, they add value to it. We should always focus on what sort of a value can we add, rather than just thinking we want to make everything because in some hypothetical scenario there like some country at war will cut off some critical component, and you are basically building your whole economy on that one small scenario. There are other ways to mitigate that, but that's not the argument you use to engage in protectionism and stifle everything. See, the other issue with these tariffs is that they're making our Indian industries, other than quality, very uncompetitive because you want your raw material at a lower price so that your export price, your selling price will also be lower because you're competing in the international market, you're competing with the Chinese, you're competing with Vietnam, you're competing with all these other countries. And if you have to pay, your company has to pay 50% or 60% higher price on the raw material, obviously your selling price is going to be higher. It's like this is like really basic economics. And this is something that most people don't get. So we need lower costs of our raw materials so that our finished goods can be sold at a competitive price across the world. And we are denying our industries that competitive advantage by these high amount of tariffs, which again are just another way for the government to add revenues. I mean, at the same time, while sounding pretty patriotic, nationalistic, whatever.
and people have very little understanding of how economics works. Like Millet, like today we like Piyush posted that video of like I'll play the video. Like people will
Yeah.
get like the second order effects. People just think in first order terms like this is what is going on, and that's like they simply think that someone is trying to invade their territory, and the simplest way is to add friction to it, so they won't be able to do anything. Like let me show you. Yeah, so this is how Javier Milei broke down the argument against tariffs.
Productos textiles. Suponete lo
Is it
siguiente,
audible?
que yo tengo una
Yeah.
empresa, ¿sí?, que produce, por ejemplo, productos textiles y que la importación, digamos, me está lloviendo la importación de Pakistán. Entonces, pido que me den aranceles de un 600%, o sea, que el precio se multiplique
te traben
por,
la importación.
claro, por 7, porque si no yo tengo que echar, no a 200, a 600 familias. Entonces vos decís, uy, mirá, digamos, claro, si vos abrís la importación, vas a hacer quebrar a esta empresa, ¿sí? Y vas a dejar 600
Pero no
personas.
pasó eso, por ejemplo, en los 90.
No, fíjate, este es el punto. Cuando vos abrís la economía, es claro que el que no es competitivo va a quebrar. Pero también lo que vos vas a ver es que en ese sector se destruyeron 600 puestos de trabajo. Lo que vos tenés que mirar es esto, que esa persona que tiene que gastar en ese bien textil, ¿sí?, en lugar de gastar 700 ahora, va a gastar 100. Y le quedan 600 para gastar en otros sectores de la economía, con lo cual va a estar creando empleo en otros sectores de la economía. Entonces vos vas a tener una ganancia de bienestar por varias cosas. Por un lado, porque vos vas a estar aplicando los recursos a sectores que son más productivos y por ende los salarios reales van a ser más altos. ¿Por qué? Porque te van a pagar más salario por ser más productivo y porque además vas a estar comprando bienes a precios más bajos, con lo cual vos ahí tenés una ganancia de bienestar. Y no se termina solo ahí. Como vos además tenés recursos para gastar en más bienes, el aumento en la diversidad de los bienes de consumo también deriva en un aumento de bienestar.
And it was interesting to like simple argument, pretty convincing. But look at what the comments. Are the comments visible?
Yeah, let me see here probably. Yeah.
Yeah, are they visible?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like this one, what you are missing is sovereignty. Like sovereignty over.
Sovereignty
Okay.
over what? Like, do we
Yes.
really need to,
Sovereignty over bad products.
absolutely. That's what we are ending up with. All we have are like substandard products and a
Yeah.
wealth transfer from the consumer to the billionaire class and the crony class, not
Yes.
billionaire, the
Yes.
crony billionaires, who depend on these imports to enrich
Yes.
tariffs to enrich themselves.
Yes. Next one is it's incorrect. Economic growth comes from incentives to domestic players and supporting. How long have we been doing that? That doesn't work.
I mean, if it worked, we would have beaten America by now. I mean,
Yeah,
the amount
yeah.
of
We have been.
protectionism we've
Yeah, I
had
think
for the
70
last
years.
70 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
70 years is good amount of time for that. Opening of agriculture is very bad. Those who have the land and only know farming or have heavily invested in it will lose everything. India has a very large number of this strata. This is good for the argument's sake, but not practical. Like
Uh,
who decides what is
no,
practical and what is not practical?
but that is the problem, right? So that we have a huge number of these people who are engaged in unproductive farming is the
Yes,
biggest one of the biggest problems in the country. I mean,
yes,
what percentage of America is engaged in farming? It's probably 3%, 4%. I don't know. And you have a country where you say half the country is engaged in farming, and they're always, complaining that they're not making enough money. Like, if you are doing something which is unproductive, you should not do that. You should be doing something else which you are productive at. Like, if you and I start trying to go and farm something without either knowing it or without having the ability or skills, and do a bad job and lose money, it shouldn't be the government that's bailing us out. The productivity of the agriculture sector is being destroyed by these bad policies. We need larger farms so that that can benefit from scale. So we need to get rid of these ceiling reforms. There are restrictions on who can own agricultural land, and there are all sorts of subsidies that are distorting the market. Definitely, I mean, the transition is not going to be easy, but if somebody is bragging that they're a bold leader, fearless leader, and all that, they should be doing it. I mean, New Zealand moved in the 90s to an absolute free market. It's the only country in the world that doesn't have any sort of an agricultural subsidies, and they're doing fantastic. I mean,
yeah, and
there was a lot of
they are dominating in agriculture, dairy and industries like that.
absolutely, and New Zealand, I mean, being a first world country, can still produce dairy and export it to India at a cost that is lower than what Indian producers are doing right now.
Yeah.
And of course, the government's not allowing it because it doesn't want that competition to hurt the local markets. But we need to scale up. See, what we are failing to see is that in a country which is poor, you're saying, there's a lot of people who are living very close to the poverty line. To sell them expensive milk to benefit a few amount of producers is wrong. I mean, we should look at more efficiency, and then these people should move on to more productive sectors. There is no real growth. I mean, whatever the government numbers are coming, that's not enough for a country that is this big and that has so much potential. And we need greater industrial growth, greater service sector growth. Every single sector that which can grow, there's a lot of government regulations stifling it. So anyway, coming back to the tariffs, so even the tariffs on food from other countries are really unfair in a country where so many people are poor. You are saying poor people have to pay more money to buy food. It doesn't hurt the upper middle class or the rich people who can afford to absorb that cost. But why are we not talking about the poor? And then the government will come and say, you know what? Because the food prices are so high, the poor people can't eat anything, and then we will provide them a subsidy. We will give MSP, and then we'll stock all this grain and this go downs, let a lot of it rot. The criminal amount of waste, and it's skewed incentives. But the whole thing is the goddamn mess.
Yes. And talking in terms of uh, like how like competition is way better, like, talking in terms of incentive, competition is a way better incentive as compared to protection. When has mollycoddling thrived thrived a human being?
Yeah, I mean, if the government is granting you a certain amount of market access, it's saying it doesn't matter whatever you do.
Yes.
If your business fails, we will just bail you out. If your crop fails, we will waive off your loans. There's a moral hazard that you're creating,
Yeah,
and
and same thing doesn't apply to entrepreneurs who actually take risk. Like
yeah, on one side, there is the other case of these extremely large cronies which get they're given loans without really caring about their whether or
no,
not their businesses are productive. But
yeah,
they are
no,
also there. Sometimes the government sort of gives them something. But by and
yes,
large,
yes.
yes, I understand. What we are talking about.
We have like and like we as libertarians are in support of free trade, and Vietnam has zero tariffs, like zero tariffs on has agreed to zero tariffs on US products. And
Yeah, and everybody said like Trump is bullying them. I mean, it doesn't matter whether it is bullying or it is not. We should not go and engage in counterproductive policies just because it might seem like you're losing face. And of course, what really happened now, right? So the US had a problem with a couple of things, not just Indian tariffs. Indian tariffs have been super high, and Trump is using the same sort of a logic that people today are using, saying that America is bullying us, ripping us off, and all that sort of a thing. Because that's exactly what Trump said, that India has been charging incredible amount of tariffs and has been adding other barriers from to prevent American companies from coming in. And we've done that for decades. So any Indian today that is like complaining that the America is imposing a 25% tariff should introspect a little bit and see what the amount of tariffs that we've done. Uh, so the other point was, they had a problem with the India buying Russian oil, which personally I don't think that there's anything wrong with it because we have to look out for the interests of Indians. And despite all the people talking about Russia being bad, whatever, I mean, of course, their invasion of Ukraine absolutely unjustified, must be condemned, and India. At international forums can do that, but when it comes to actually buying oil, should we deprive our consumers of cheap oil? And the funny thing is, Europe itself is buying gas from Russia. Like at recent as last year, Germany was still buying an incredible amount of gas from them. US, even till date, buys uranium from Russia. Probably might have paused that right now. So what is this hypocrisy? And everybody on the right wing is going like, India will not flex on tariffs as if that's a great thing. India should get rid of these tariffs not because America is bullying us, but because it is good for us. Our country really needs to get rid of these tariffs if we have to prosper. And just now the news reports have come in that Indian companies have stopped. The government companies have stopped. Importing Russian oil. So the thing on which the government could have shown some amount of spine and not flexed on was on the oil issue because it is based. I mean, India has every right to buy oil from whoever the heck we want to, and it benefits our consumers and it benefits India's interest. But on the other side, tariffs don't benefit our country, don't benefit our consumers. It only benefits a very small group of people in the country when you look at it in the overall level. So all the people who are like just thumping saying India won't back down, we are this, we are not afraid. I think some of the winds out of their sails once they saw the news about India stopping, Russian fuel. But what we should really be sad about is that the Indian government is not flexing on tariffs, and people saying it shouldn't look like America has bullied us. So well, that's no longer an excuse, but because it looks like America has already bullied the Modi government into stopping imports of Russian oil. So that is gone. Might as well do the right thing, get rid of these damn tariffs. If you don't want to do them all on a single day, do it in maybe phases, do whatever can help you save face. But India really needs it. Our industry will not grow with these tariffs. I hope that the government sees some sense. They could have actually used it. They could have used this as an excuse to lower tariffs by saying, you know what, they're going to hurt our imports, so we are able to do it, and build some sort of a narrative about it. It's just funny when they do all sorts of, crazy things, the amount of mental gymnastics that they do. But here, there's an opportunity to justify a really good policy, and they just don't care about it.
Yes. I think it's better that we show some confidence in our entrepreneurs, free up the shackles of regulations, and like it isn't like we say that like do nothing domestically and just let foreign companies come in. We are not arguing for that. We are saying that like this creates a burden on the local industry to innovate, as well as the administration to unshackle the industry to be competitive to the foreigners. If you care, like if you care, you cannot run away from competition constantly. You have to be open to it and upgrade yourself so that you are able to beat them and win over them.
Yeah.
So it if Make in India has to succeed, Make in India for the world, it has to succeed. It has to face global competition and rise amidst that.
Absolutely. If you want industries to make in India, first let them make. First of all, the government itself is a huge barrier. When companies want to set up, when they want to run their business, the amount of rules, regulations, and the bureaucratic nightmare itself is a huge challenge. On top of that, see, if you are a company today that is setting up a manufacturing unit, now you will need some machinery. Now you can buy an Indian machine that is going to be 50% more expensive, or you add up another 100% tariff on a Chinese machine. But if you want to produce, you will need those machinery. And right now the government is adding a tariff on that. Today, people are talking like why Piyush Goyal, these companies, these Indian startups are not doing anything. They're not doing on AI. Today, if an AI company wants to import hardware, the GPUs, there is a tariff on that. No, so does it mean that India can today start manufacturing what an Nvidia or one of those semiconductor firms is or like a GPU firms are doing right now? It's not even possible. We don't even have that capability. So what's the point of you imposing a tariff on that? So the whole policy is an absolute mess. There is no sense to it. There is no logic to it. We really need to get rid of this. Otherwise, we are losing advantage with every single minute. We squandered the last 2 decades of incredible potential, and if we don't really do this at highest priority, I am afraid that we might forever be stuck at these levels. With our growth will not, take us far. I mean, our base is very low, right? So even if you're looking at a 6%, 7% growth, where the amount of growth that China had, during those early 2000s and from late 90s onwards was incredible. Double-digit growth, sustained growth for quite a bit of time, and ours is very lackluster. This is not enough for a country with the sort of potential that India has. It's an absolute criminal. It's absolutely criminal. So I'm sorry, I lost your Tushar. You.
Let's move on to the next topic, which is
Yeah.
like this news got viral basically. It was regarding school fees in in a private school. Yeah, so Indra, like India Today shared this post, shared the story that Hyderabad school annual nursery fees of 2.5 lakh sparks debate.
Yeah. First of all, there is no debate. This was, I think Anuradha Tiwari just posted this saying, how can they justify this such a high fee? And it is, it's, I don't see what the debate is. There is a school that is charging an amount of fee, and this is a very old school in Hyderabad. They're quite popular, and it is not easy to get an admission as well. So the fact that, people are, queuing up to go join there, it automatically means that they are providing something of value to those parents. I mean, value is subjective, right? For example, I might not see any value in, an expensive, branded clothing or something, but somebody else might, and they pay for what they think it's worth. So one, there is no controversy here. There are private schools, and they're charging an amount of fee. And one, it is funny because the Dharma Party and Anuradha Tiwari, they keep talking a lot about this merit, right, when it comes to reservation. But here it is, this is the merit. That is their merit of a private business, that they're offering a certain amount of value. And this is sort of akin to, asking for a price control on it, extremely socialist, and it is anti-merit. So
Yes.
how can a party that claims to be pro-merit argue for government coming and setting some sort of a price cap on their potential to earn? It is very similar to saying that sort of very analogous to the whole reservation system, and the sort of things that their party is opposing. So I think it stems from a lack of understanding about what markets are, how private companies do business, why pricing, or basically the subjective theory of value, what value is. I think the lack of understanding is quite problematic. And the other thing is, like, when a lot of people comment on this, they're like, private schools are looting us, the government's doing a bad job. This is a really big lie, because when they take schools like these are super elite schools. Okay, these are like the most elite schools. But an average private school today, if you look at the low cost private schools, which charge anywhere, they just some charge like, less than 1,000 rupees a month, right? And these schools are the majority of the schools. Today, 50% of India's population is getting educated in private schools. And it is crazy to think that 50% of India's population today is spending the sort of money that they just shared, the India Today shared in that post. That is not. That is an outlier. That is a high-end elite institution, and definitely one barrier to why private schooling might be expensive or is expensive is that the sort of regulations that the government have. That there are like incredible amount of licenses, there is a certain amount of land,
Yes.
and the fact that
Yes. Let me share this.
yeah, sorry, and your voice is dropped off, so you might have to do a bit something with the mic.
Yeah, so let me share the breakdown of what all. If you want to start a school, let me break down what all bureaucratic hassles you have to go through just to uh, what all permissions you need just for setting up a simple school in India. So, wait. Yes. So, is this visible?
Yeah.
Yeah. So first of all, you need to like first of all, this myth needs to be cleared. Schools in India are non-profits. It is not
On
like
paper at least.
yeah, they are already non-profit. So this entire thing like schools are operating for profits. No, they are non-profits on paper. First of all. Secondly, first of all, you need to register as a society or start non for non-profit. Then land and building approvals. You need a long-term lease, like something like 30 years. For you need to buy land. You need a land lease for 30 years. Like you need a land use clearance. You need a building plan approval from the municipal authority. You need completion certificate. Like these are standard things. For CBSC and ICSC, they have special conditions. Land must be owned by the society, trust, or leased with valid documentation. Okay. So basically, you cannot build on land that is owned by someone else. The society has to own it. The society has to own it or lease it. So if someone donates it, you have to like if someone owns it and he says like you can do it, you cannot do it directly. So third thing is school register, so school recognition certificate issued by the state education department and under the Right to Education Act. Requirements include minimum land area. Like this is the problematic thing.
Yeah, the minimum land norms are absolutely
Yes.
ridiculous today,
Yes.
and when urban land is so expensive, and even if you want to lease it, it's not like somebody is going to lease you a land that's worth crores for 30 years for some pittance. It's going to be pretty high,
Yes.
and all of this are actually making education higher, the
Yes.
cost of education much
Yes.
higher,
Yes.
and the interference in the boards, It's I mean, I did at one point of time consider opening up a school, because I thought it's probably a good way to, sort of educate people about the sort of things that we talk about libertarian thing. But, just looking at the regulatory nightmare, I'm like, absolutely no way in hell am I getting into that mess.
Yeah, even those with capital are like, no, we simply cannot go through the drudgery of the entire process. Like, it should not be that difficult to set up. Like, I want to teach people. Like, it shouldn't be that difficult.
And the other thing, right? See, I'll tell you the other important thing. So there is 25% of your private school quota is reserved under the Right to Education Act.
Yes.
And that means that you have to, give admission to kids who will not be paying you the fees that, you're charging a regular student. So, for example, let us say you are a school that is charging, say, 70,000 or 1 lakh rupees a year is your school fees. And suddenly you just lost 25% of your income. And the government today is offering you saying something, what, we'll pay you about 6,000 rupees or 7,000 rupees per student. And which means, you're not getting that money. And what a lot of people don't realize is that the school is not going to be taking that hit. It is just passing on that cost to the remaining parents.
Yes.
So those people are ending up paying higher fees. And again, a lot of that. So you're basically that 25% is getting split among the remaining 75%,
Yeah.
causing an unnecessary inflation in the increase in the school fees. So again, this is another result of the RTE policy, the regulations. And even if you keep all of this aside, it is absolutely disingenuous to talk about these elite school fees and talk as if these are the normal private schools. You
Yes.
have private schools in every single price range. Most of these people want a certain level of quality, but they don't want to pay the market rate for it. Granted, the market rate is higher than it should be because of government regulation. But the
Yes.
basic principle, the basic problem here of these people is they will not send their kid to a school which actually charges less. They want the quality of the elite school, but
Yes.
they have a
Yeah.
problem with the fare, and they're just targeting the wrong. They should target the government for making
Yeah.
the private schooling more expensive. But
Yes.
at another level, there is a sort of a socialist mindset that is ingrained into people that saying, how can they make money from education?
Yes.
Everybody is okay. If they're a software engineer, they'll want hikes every year. If they run a business, they'll want to make a profit. But suddenly, somebody has to invest a lot of money in setting up a school because it is education. They have absolutely no right to make money. So these are the sort of mindset and cultural issues that we need to fight. And it is also a problem when a new age political parties, we're not talking about the older ones, institutions like Congress, BJP, but the newer ones that are coming into the market and talking about merit don't understand these issues. And, if they want to propose these sort of solutions or imply that the government should step in or that a school should justify its value to everybody else. I mean, the market is the only way to justify. If somebody is paying and there's a buyer and a seller, the transaction is made. So when new age political parties are coming and continuing spreading this old socialist bullshit, we have a really serious problem, and hopefully all the libertarian community will get together and really fight and dispel these myths and hopefully change people's minds, because if this mindset persists, there is no future. I mean, it will always be a mess. You're saying the country is a mess and then you want to propose the same old ideas.
Yeah.
That's not going to change anything.
Yeah. And like, and lastly, like I was covering the list. So like board, like this is a whole another corruption funnel. Board affiliation. After getting recognition, you have to yes. Yes, after getting recognition, you apply for board affiliation. Require like CBSC has its own rules, ICSC has its own rules. State boards have their own requirements, and good luck getting them anytime soon. And then
I
last one
think
is
I
land.
think ICS is probably a private board, so might
Yeah,
be a bit different, but yeah.
yeah. And lastly, no objection certificate from the state education department. Like what does it? Why does it care what is being taught?
No, because I mean, no, I think definitely the state has to give you a no objection, because the guy has to make money, right? So only
Yeah,
when he's fed and given his bribe, then he will not object. Otherwise, he will object to you doing anything, right?
yeah.
You can't even breathe in this country without a government officer objecting to it. So they need their money, they need their haftas. So it's just
Yeah,
a
and
bribery scheme.
So I was did some cursory calculation. It turns out that it costs approximately 30 crores to 30 crores to spend to build a decent school. So
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
and aside from that, all the this doesn't include all the bribes and permissions the cost of permission that is required. So yeah, and you expect that if someone puts up this much capital and he's not going to recover from it, good luck with that. And
Yeah. And he has to recover it only from 75% of his students. That's
yes,
also there.
yeah,
Don't forget it.
he,
Only
and you
75% of his students.
you have already taken a 25% slash out of his pie.
Yeah.
So we are it turns out that there are the only party with new ideas are us, and only movement with genuine ideas that work are us.
I,
And
I think more importantly, yeah, more than new ideas, our ideas are based on sound economics,
yes,
derived from first principles,
yes,
and have been proven to work.
yes,
Every country that has tried market approach to solutions has been able to fix that problem as opposed to a centrally planned thing. We've seen it for more than 100 years now, and I don't think there's any excuse left anymore.
also let's talk about what solutions we propose for reducing education prices. First of all, deregulate, make it easy to set up schools. Secondly, uh, like for this covers the demand and supply thing. And secondly, tame down these all these school education boards that are trying to interfere in day to day education. Then their the curriculum is always outdated, and they are most of the time students are wasting their time in the class and they don't learn anything. It's if I think I think that if a survey is done that how much of what you learned till 12th you are still using, it will turn
Yeah.
out that 95% is useless, and only 5% maybe there's something here and there
No,
maybe
because the focus is on
yes,
meeting your quota of rote learning
yes,
to, crack a certain exam or
yes,
that the board has set or something. And the sort of restrictions on the boards, the government itself has some sort of an education policy where it imposes a lot of norms. So there is a whole lot of inefficiency. And the thing
yes,
is, we don't know which board is better. We don't know if ICSE is doing a good job and IB, Cambridge. So let 1,000 boards bloom and let the market choose what's better. And
yeah,
for different people have different priorities. I studied in ICSC and I thought it was pretty good. I really liked compared to I looked at the CBSE syllabus and I thought the ICSC thing was pretty good on the science. And somebody else might think the CBSE math is better. Maybe they'll pick it. A lot of new boards, a lot of flexibility in how even curriculum can be structured. So we definitely need more freedom, more choice, and less government intervention in education. And I think at a national level, there should absolutely be no, even at the state level. One, the government shouldn't interfere. But why is the central government trying to dictate education? Just like at least the first thing they can do is the central government, what is under the control, they can just get rid of the whole education planning from their side and decentralize it. And then hopefully it'll come down to city level, and finally the private boards will take over and private schools will decide their own curriculum. They can start devolving this responsibility.
yes, definitely. And lastly, how do we improve affordability? One thing that we can do is that the voucher system. If someone wants to think about it, how to make education affordable, and government support is required, the voucher system is it has proven to be each time it has proven to be successful in publicly funded education. Voucher system has proven to give the best record in terms of student learning and student learning outcomes. Basically, voucher system because it involves the element of market competition where schools have to compete for the most vouchers, and it results in they upgrading their facilities and and being much more concerned about the students' performance uh, as compared to simple public funded where teacher salaries are paid by the government and salary isn't related to the outcome.
Yeah, so I think one of the reasons why we are proposing the voucher scheme is that the government is actually spending a lot of money. So what a lot of these people don't realize that is today the government of Andhra Pradesh is spending close to 1 lakh rupees per student per year. Now look at it, right? So you looked at some private school that's charging a lot of money, but the government is already spending 1 lakh rupees per student. And in the comments, a lot of people are saying, but the government schools are so bad. 1 lakh rupees. If you pay an equivalent fee in a private institution, you will get much superior quality of education. And that's the money that's being wasted today. For half the money of what the government is spending, you will get an equivalent or better education at a private school. So the voucher system actually, one, reduces government spending, and two, gives the parents the choice to take the voucher and go to a school. They can vote with their voucher or vote with their feet and go to a private school which is of a better quality, and give their voucher there. And this is obviously a transitional measure because for more than a century, our whole education system has been absolutely destroyed, and our society has been impoverished. And as society gets richer, even these voucher schemes will not be
Yes,
necessary
yes, right.
and they will be phased out.
Yes.
But yes, given things as they are, one, and this the immediate impact of switching to a voucher scheme is that it is going to reduce government spending.
Yes.
Lower government spending automatically leads to lower money being extracted in forms of taxes, and superior outcomes for education for the people who can't afford market education right now.
Yes. So I think we have covered all the bases, and if anyone has any questions, please ask. Otherwise, we'll end the stream now. Okay. So there are no questions. I think we are like we covered the topic decently, and we'll keep coming back to it because these issues keep emerging, and again and again, it is not like a one-off issue,
Yeah,
and soon we'll be discussing, like when we propose, we share our manifesto, we'll cover each of the policy proposals that we have in detail. So stay tuned. Thank you all for listening. Have a good day.
yeah. Thanks everyone. Good night.